Hey everybody, welcome back to the Beach Bum Bookworm. I am Tiffany. I'm so glad y'all found me again today. This is the first video I've done since the new year. I'm so excited. It's 2021. We made it. I feel it, guys. It's going to be a good year. I just know it. I feel it. Today, I want to talk about what I read in the month of December of that other year. And I'm not even going to say it because we don't know what I'm talking about. It's like the year will no longer mention. So let's just move on. You don't know what I'm talking about. All right. So let me know in the comments below what you read in December, what you're excited about reading in January, anything else you want to talk about. Down there is the place to do it. On your way down to comment, don't forget to stop, hit the subscription and the notification bell because that's going to tell you when I put out new videos each and every single week. All right, guys, let's get to it. My December reads for the previous year. In 3, 2, 1, go! So the first book that I want to talk about that I read was a cozy mystery. It's called Moose and Murder. It was the first book in the Alaskan Diner series by Elizabeth Logan. The cover will be right here. So the main character in this is Chef Charlie Cook. Ironic name. And she has moved back to her hometown in Alaska, which I believe is called Elkview, to run her parents' diner, the Bear Claw Diner. So her parents have decided to do some traveling and retire and whatnot, and she's going to take over. So the head cook at the Bear Claw Diner is not the nicest of men. I think, you do see that he has a good heart in the end, but he's very cankerous and just very set in his ways, and he has not the best reputation of interacting nicely with people. He ends up dead after, this is the bad part, after a very public argument fight between him and Charlie because she wanted to make some changes to the menu now that she has taken over the Bear Claw Diner. I gave this book 4 cups of coffee. If you haven't seen my other videos, you should go back and watch them. But if you haven't seen my other videos, I rate my cozy mysteries in cups of coffee because I tried to think of what I thought was the most cozy, and a big cup of hot coffee, that's just cozy to me. That's just cozy to me, which is really funny now because I'm not really supposed to drink coffee, so... But it's still what I think of as cozy. So I rated this book 4 cups of coffee. It was so good. There are 3 books in this series. I've ordered the second one. I hope it comes very soon. So the next book that I read was a Christmas romance. I love reading holiday books during the holiday season because it just gets me in the spirit. I love them. So I read The Christmas Plan. It'll be right here. It is the 6th book in the Silver Bell Falls series. It was the first for me, and I absolutely loved it. And oh gosh, I loved it. This book is by Samantha Chase. This series is by Samantha Chase. So the main characters in this book are Aspen Harris and Gabriel. So Aspen has just found out right before Christmas that she's jobless and pretty much is going to have to move back home to her parents' house. Gabriel is going back home for Christmas. He lives in Silver Bell Falls, which is a really enthusiastic Christmas town, and he invited her to experience a great Christmas before she has to move back home to her parents. While they're on this trip, things change between them. Again, it's a friends to lovers. It is so, so cute. I loved it. I loved this. It felt like a cozy romance. So like instead of a cozy mystery, it's like a cozy romance. Like Hallmark would love this. Oh my God, that's a great idea. Hallmark, if you're out there, Silver Bell Falls. All right, guys. Anyways, I really, really enjoyed this book. Oh my gosh, I gave it 4 flames. I'm sorry, I gave it 4 stars and 3 flames. So the way I rate my romances, I give them a regular star and then I give them a flame rating. That is the steaminess factor. If I don't remember how steamy a book is, I always give it a 3 because I figure that's middle of the road because I don't want anybody to get any big surprises and they can kind of gauge whether it's too much for them or however they look at things. So I gave it 4 stars and 3 flames. So the next book I read is another Christmas romance. It was called The Christmas Swap. It's by Melody Carlson. It'll be right here. So this story is basically two families switch homes for Christmas so they can each experience a different type of Christmas. One's in Arizona and wants to experience a traditional Colorado Christmas with skiing and fireplaces and hot chocolate and all those things. And the other family in Colorado wants to experience in the sun, sand, because it's Arizona, so the desert. And basically, before the gentleman whose home in Colorado is, so the guy who owns the home in Colorado, he hasn't had a chance to leave yet. He's kind of reluctant about the trip. He doesn't really want the Arizona Christmas. It's more of a family thing. So as he's kind of shuffling his feet to get to Arizona, the family that's going to be staying in his home arrives, and the majority of the family, well, all of the family for the most part, are pretty snooty and uppity and this and that. But they have a family friend of the daughter that travels with them, and she is very sweet and very cute. And so Tyler, the guy that owns the home in Colorado, decides to stay and get to know Emma. So Tyler is a famous songwriter, and he fabricates a story that he is the caretaker of the home in Colorado. But this allows him more time to get to know Emma. It was a really, really, really cute, fun Christmas read. I enjoyed it. So the main character, Emma, her friend, whose family that is actually the ones that are renting the house, is she was a lot to digest, but the story was really, really cute. I gave it 3 stars and 1 flame. I really enjoyed it. Oh my gosh, y'all. I gave 2 5 cups of coffees this month. That is pretty rare for me. First one, it is the 3rd book in the Camper and Criminals Cozy Mystery series by Tanya Capps. It's called Forests, Fishing and Forgery. It'll be right here. I talked about the first 2 in last month's, and I had to order the 3rd one in this month because I just love it so much. So in this one, it's Labor Day weekend in Normal, Kentucky, and there's a bachelor party that has come to the campground. They're a little rowdy. May is not certain that, they're not going to alienate the campers that are already there that are her loyal customers. The groom ends up, from this bachelor party, the groom ends up going missing. So May, and I don't remember which guy it is because there's a love triangle going on right now. One of them is is a cop, and the other one is a chef. One of those 2 men, I'm guessing the cop, but I can't even swear to that. I really can't. Go out looking for this groom. And they find him. Well, May finds him in the most unfortunate way. So then she's, trying to figure out what's going on and keep everything running as normal. There's so much about this series I love. It's just that I love everything about it. I love the setting. I love the location. I love the characters, the laundry club, which is AKA the gossip mill, which I love. I don't want to be a part of it, but I like to read about it, sort of thing. It's so much fun. I love the tight knit of the campground community. They have like these nightly dinners where they all share and have, bonfires and all that. It just sounds so amazing, and I would love to be a part of it. I love it, love it, love it. 5 cups of coffee. Can't wait to read the next one. So the next book that I read was another Christmas romance. It's called The Christmas Dare. It'll be right here. It's by Lori Wilde, who is amazing. I love her, and I loved this book. It is the 10th book in the Twilight Texas series. The main characters are Kelsey James and Nora McGregor. So the beginning of the book is Kelsey's wedding day, and the groom before the wedding announces or comes out and that he is in love with the best man. And so Kelsey's best friend Tasha, wants her to take a break and kind of get out of the area and still go on her honeymoon. And Kelsey is pretty kept on a pretty tight leash from her mother. Her mother, guys, was, God, I really can't stand to say this. She was an awful character. She was absolutely awful. I don't know that I could find anything redeeming about her, and I really want to, but I can't. And I know that you weren't supposed to like her, so job well done, Lori Wilde, because I didn't. But so her mother basically controls like every aspect of her life, of this adult woman's life. And so Tasha decides to control a little bit of her life herself, which was kind of odd, but she was doing it in the best of intentions, where it's not always the case with mom. So, or not ever the case with mom. So Tasha says she's going to arrange the trip. She's going to decide where they go, and she's going to arrange some Christmas dares, and it's going to be a Christmas of yeses, where basically Kelsey just finally for once takes a chance and gets away from her awful mother. Woo. So Tasha does, and Tasha, being a little mischievous, which we love, sets it up so that the hotel they stay at is one that is run and owned by her first love. And so, yes, guys, this is a second chance romance, which I'm usually not a fan of, but I think the reason I love this one so much, it's not a second chance in the sense that they broke up because something horrible happened between them. They were basically ripped apart again by her awful mother, played a huge hand in them breaking up. So this is their second chance romance. I enjoyed both the characters. There were times when I was frustrated with Kelsey, but at the same time I was empathetic to her. So I thought Lori Wilde did a very, very good job at the push and pull of seeing both sides of things. I loved Noah. And guys, him and his little lovable friends in the town, including his brother, have one awesome way to raise money for charity. You will love it. I loved it. I gave this book 4.5 stars and 3 flames. So good. So the next one I read was that other 5-star or 5 cups of coffee book. It is a cozy mystery, of course. It is Courting Can Be Killer by Amanda Flower. The book will be right here. If you've seen any of my other videos, you're probably not surprised that it's a book by Amanda Flower, because I absolutely love her. Her Candy Shop series, which this is a spinoff of, is one of my absolute favorites. I think she is a brilliant writer. She writes characters and settings probably as I just love her. I can't even stress that enough. So this is an Amish matchmaker mystery. So the main character is Millie Fisher. She is a widowed Amish woman. She is a matchmaker for the Amish community, which is really cool. It's in Harvest, Ohio, which again is the same setting for the Amish Candy Shop series. So this is a spinoff of that. And you do see the interweaving of the characters from the Amish Candy Shop series, which I love. So in this one, there is a young Amish man who is trying to court this young Amish girl named Tess, and her father is not giving his blessing. He does not want Ben to be with his daughter. Ben ends up tragically dying in a fire, and Millie doesn't think it was an accident. Guys, I gave it 5 cups of coffee, so you know I loved it. It's another great addition to this brand new series. Like I said, it's book 2. I love Harvest. I love Millie. I love her goats. I love Lois, the mystery, the series. She just makes you feel like you are right there, and I want to be friends with these people, and I just want to spend time with them. I love it, love it, love it. So the next book I read is called Wrapped Up in You. It is number 8 in the Heartbreaker Bay series by Jill Chavez. It'll be right here. I really love Jill Chavez. I will say this wasn't my favorite book by her. It wasn't horrible by any means. It just, So whenever I do my wrap-ups and, when anybody's talking about books, these are just our opinions. Everybody has the right to them. I'm not trying to offend anybody, upset anybody, hurt anybody's feelings. But as a consumer and someone who, purchases the product, just like with anything, we give our opinions about art and movies and everything else. This is just my opinion about a book. It might be somebody's favorite, and that's perfectly fine. And there are plenty of books that I love that other people, it's not their thing, and it's okay. Okay. I just felt like I had to say that more for me because I don't want to bash anybody's book or come across like I'm bashing anybody's book, because I know how hard it would be. I could never even think about writing a book, nor do I want to, so please don't make me. I'm meant for reading them. Okay, so I don't know why I made that such a big deal, because I still gave this book a good rating, but it just wasn't my favorite. So the main characters are Ivy Snow and Kell O'Donnell. Ivy owns a food truck in San Francisco, and this is kind of the first time she's put down roots. She didn't have the best family home life, so she's, really wanting to make her place here. Kell is a sheriff. They're really clicking. Things are going along great. And then Ivy's brother, who, is a very troubled young man, comes back into town, and he needs Ivy's help. And there's been, when he shows up, he often takes advantage of Ivy. And unfortunately, this time is no different. He takes advantage of her again. And Kell doesn't really believe Ivy. He thinks that Ivy is part of whatever's happened, or at least that she is enabling her brother. And it just rubbed me wrong. Ivy forgives him, and they work it out. And I gave this book 3 stars. Why am I this worked up about this book? I don't know. I gave it 3 stars and 3 flames. I love Jill Chavez. I will be reading more of her. This one just wasn't my favorite. All right. So the next book that I read is the first book in the Silver Bell Falls series, because I love the 6th book so much. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go back and read number 1, because I'm not really a fan of reading series out of order. I'm trying to be better about it. And since I made myself a deal that I wouldn't buy as many books, I would use more of the library system. Sometimes it's just what is available, and I am okay with that. And I'm okay with that. I'm trying to be okay with that. All right. So Silver Bell Falls, Christmas in Silver Bell Falls. It's right here. It is by Samantha Chase. Again, it's book 1. The main characters are Melanie Harper and Josiah Stone. And Melanie is an author who her publisher wants her to write a Christmas book. The problem with that, guys, and it's a big problem, is that Melanie hates Christmas. I mean, she hates Christmas. There might be people who kind of dislike Christmas or don't get in the spirit, but her and her father, for reasons that are later, discussed in the book, and you kind of, see what's going on with them, don't even celebrate Christmas. They don't really even acknowledge it. So this is a big departure for her. So Josiah is the sheriff in Christmas Bell Falls. Well, Melanie's grandmother, who she was estranged from, has passed away and left Melanie this house in Silver Bell Falls, and her dad thinks it's the perfect opportunity to be able to write this book. Maybe if she goes to Christmas Bell Falls and experiences some of the holiday spirit, she'll be able to write her book. Plus, upon finding out about the will and the house that her grandmother left her, there's a clause in there that she has to live in the house for, I think it's 2 or 3 months before she sells it. So she, of course, travels to Silver Bell Falls. This book is about her and Josiah's relationship, and I thought it was great. The way that they met it was a little humorous and a lot awkward. I love when authors give romance characters kind of these awkward scenes or some character flaws, because a lot of times they can make them perfect creatures, and that's just not realistic. So when they have these moments like that, or like I said, when they have these character flaws that make them a little more human and realistic. I love it. And I thought that I just thought that the way they met was really, really humorous and brilliant. I loved this story. I can't wait to read more in the series, but I guess I'm going to wait till next year because we're in January. And I know that there's nothing that can really stop me, but I like to read the books in the season. So I can't wait to check more of them out. So let me know in the comments below. Do you only read books at holiday time? I usually tend to stick to that. Like I read them during their season, that's it. Except, there's always a but in there. When they're part of a like cozy mystery series or something like that, and I'm just reading it to read it in order, and it's a Christmas book, and it's May. Well, I'm still going to read it because I just am. But generally speaking, if I'm just picking up a, standalone or something like that. So the next book I read was another Christmas romance. It is The Dawn of Christmas, a romance from the heart of Amish country. It's right here. It's by Cindy Woodsmall. It is the third book in the Apple Ridge series. I have not read Cindy Woodsmall before, but I will again. I really enjoyed it. It was so cute, y'all. So the main characters are Sadie and Levi. So this book starts, and 4 years prior to the book starting, Sadie had been engaged to a young man who she walked into a shed or a barn and finds him in an embrace with her cousin. He says, oh, she was falling from a ladder and I caught her. It was just a misunderstanding. And so Sadie's kind of just been turned off from men ever since. She wanted to get out of the little town that she was in because she just felt so embarrassed. And she has been doing missionary work for the last 4 years. And now her father wants her to come home and get past it, move on, and be at home with the family. So Sadie is back, and she's really struggling with if this is what she should be doing or not. And she goes for this late night horseback ride. And she is traveling through a field, and she finds Levi, who's been in an accident after his horse threw him. And she gets help for him, and they become friends. And through becoming friends, they decide to have a fake romance. So this, guys, is a fake romance relationship, which I love that theme. Basically, they just want their families off their backs, so they are doing each other a favor. And then things end up changing between them. I loved it. I gave it 3.5 stars, no flames. It was so good, so cute. I'm going to have to look into more of her books. So the next book I read was Falling for the Bad Boy. It is the first book in the Bedtime Reads series by Kennedy Fox. It'll be right here. The main characters are Ethan Rochester and Veda. Veda is a romance writer who's kind of in this slump. She lives in Chicago, but she wants a new change of scenery. So she books a trip to Charleston and rents a Airbnb. And Ethan is an artist, and he is the one renting her this cottage. This book was kind of up and down for me. There were parts that I really enjoyed, and there were parts that I was like, Ethan, I mean, this is a romance novel, so there's always going, to be, some steamy scenes and stuff like that. But his dialogue was crude in weird spots. Once they were together, and there were times when they were, in the bedroom, it might have made sense. But upon meeting her, he's making these really crude sexual innuendos and whatnot. And I'm like, if I was her, this would not have, I would have been looking for another place to stay. That's what I'll say about it. The other thing that kind of I thought was more unrealistic than bothersome, well, it was bothersome too, but it was definitely unrealistic, is that just like with most romances, and this is kind of built into the romance, there's this pivotal scene or breakup or fight where something happens and it's going to test their relationship. And then we're going to get the happily ever after, right? Which is why we read them. So this entire relationship is a week long. Okay. So they have this week long, really intense relationship, and there's a fight. And like I said, there's a misunderstanding, whatever, which is normal. And she leaves, and they're apart for over a year, according to the span of time in the book. Over a year they were apart. And Ethan has waited on her. I can't help it. I don't think that that's realistic after a week-long relationship, that you're waiting for the person to come around and talk to you for over a year about which was a simple misunderstanding. And by the way, communicate. My goodness, it was a simple misunderstanding. Communicate. I feel better now. Thank you. I gave this book 3 stars. Again, I'm like, it sounds like I really hated it, and I didn't. I enjoyed it. There were just parts that, I read it on my tablet, and sometimes I forget that like shaking my tablet won't really do anything. I'm like, oh, and then, it's not like an Etch-a-Sketch or something like that. It doesn't really matter, but I try. Anyways, I gave this book 3 stars, 5 flames, because it was spicy. So the next book I read is A Killer Collection. It'll be right here. It is book 1 in the Antiques and Collectible Mystery Series by J.B. Stanley, aka Ellery Adams, who I love. The main character is Molly Appleby. She is a writer for Collectors Weekly magazine. A fellow collector in this book, a fellow collector is murdered. Molly investigates. This book was very well written. I just don't have much to say about it because it wasn't my thing. Only because I'm not into like collectibles and antiques. If you are, you will love it. Read it, please. It was great. It was well written. Just wasn't my thing. I still gave it 3 cups of coffee because the writing and the mystery and all that was very well done. They just maybe weren't cups of coffee meant for me to drink. Oh, the next book that I read was another cozy mystery. It is One Potion in the Grave. It is the second book in the Magic Potion series. It'll be right here. This series is by Heather Blake. I love this series. And I said, oh, when I first started, because it was the last one I had to read. I read 1, then I read 3, and now I'm back to 2. But the series is over regardless. Unless it's not. I don't know. I think as of now it's over, but you never know, and I still have hope. I absolutely love this series. So the main character is Carly Bell Hartwell. She is a witch, and she runs a potion shop in her hometown in Hitching Post, Alabama, which is the wedding capital of the South. And in this book, a friend / kind of more acquaintance from high school comes back into town. Her name is Katie Sue, and Katie Sue had a lot going on with her family and just had left years ago to get away from them. And she has changed everything about herself, including like her name. She is just a totally different person, but she has come back to town to get vengeance or revenge or settle a score of some kind. Before she can do that, unfortunately, she is murdered. And Carly is going to figure out what is going on. I listened to this whole series on audio, which is very rare for me to do a whole series that way. And the only reason I did was because I loved it, the narrator, so much. I just listened to all of them on audio. And since I like to crochet, it just gave me more of an opportunity to crochet while I was listening to my book. Again, I'm just so sad that this series is over. I absolutely love this series. If you have not checked it out, you need to. 4 cups of coffee. I always forget that. 4 cups of coffee. It was so good. So the next book I read was Bad for You. It is book 7 in the Seabreeze series. It'll be right here. This book is by Abby Glines. I had never read an Abby Glines book before. The main characters are Crit, Corbin, and Blythe Denton. So Crit is in a rock band, and he's described as kind of being inclined to addiction and partying and whatnot. And Blythe has had a totally different upbringing. So her mother either died in childbirth or like right thereafter. And Blythe is raised by the minister in town, in their small town, and the minister's wife. So before I go any further, real quick, time out. I want to give a trigger warning. There is at the beginning of this book, some talk about physical abuse, verbal, emotional. The minister's wife is, just it's very, but I definitely want to put it out there. So for obvious reasons I just mentioned, Blythe isn't really connected to either the minister or the minister's wife, who is now deceased. And so when she graduates high school, the minister and her are very happy to just like send her away. She wants a fresh start, and the minister just kind of wants to, I don't know, get rid of her, because he sends her 10 hours away to go to a community college, which, there is a minister in the town that he sends her to that he is friends with, so maybe that played a part in it. Anyways, she goes to this town for her fresh start and this community college and to work for this minister, and she gets an apartment, and Crit lives above her. So I did not like this book. I said it before, I'll say it again. I don't want to bash anybody's book, but Crit's character really bordered on dangerously obsessive and possessive, to where it was really unhealthy. And that was part of the issues that they had, as far as the pivotal moment that I talked about earlier. But I know it's fiction. I know it is. I just don't, it's just not my cup of tea to read about a relationship that, to me, is all I wanted to do was send Blythe like smoke signals or like Morse code, like run away. So I know that some people really enjoy those kind of books, and there is a whole category and subgenre of romances that are like taboo and those sort of things, and that's perfectly fine. It's just not for me. I didn't know it going in. Now I do. There you go. So my next book is also by Abby Glines, because I thought, now what I just said is now I know now. But at the time I thought, you know what, I'm going to give her another chance, because I had never read an Abby Glines, and maybe that one just wasn't for me. So I picked up Until Friday Night. It is right here. It is book 1 in the Field Party series by her. The main characters are West Ashby and Maggie Carlton. So West's father is dying of cancer, and Maggie is a selective mute after witnessing her father kill her mother. So there is a lot of trauma in this book. And I did not like it. That is not why. It's not have anything to do with the trauma. I did not care for this for a couple of reasons. Side note, asterisk, whatever, just like I've been saying and keep saying, this is only my opinion. She is a very popular author, so people love her, just not me. One of the things that bothered me about Until Friday Night is that I'm in my 40s. I felt it was icky, and I just felt kind of really weird reading about a very kind of sexualized high school relationship. It wasn't necessarily that there was a bunch of sex scenes, because there weren't, but it was just it was two high schoolers having a very adult relationship, and it just felt icky. It's just my opinion. The main character, the guy, West, again, was right on the cusp of being possessive and obsessive in a very stalkerish, unhealthy way. Now I honestly know, and I gave her a second chance. She just isn't for me. If you love her, more power to you. Abby Glines, more power to you. People love you. It's just not for me. So the next book I read was Why Not Tonight? It is by Susan Mallery. It is the third book in the Happily Inc. series. It'll be right here. I love this series. I love Susan Mallery. I really love her Fool's Gold series. So in this book, the main characters are Natalie Coletta and Ronan Mitchell. The Mitchell family is an ongoing, they're all part of the Happily Inc. series. They're brothers. So this is Ronan's story. It's a family of artists. Ronan is an artist. Natalie is an artist as well. But Ronan makes his living doing art, and Natalie works for the gallery to support her love of art. And Ronan is a reclusive, and he kind of lives in the mountains, and he's very just standoffish, and a lot has happened in his life that has changed recently, and so he's just going through a lot, and he's not the most communicative, and he doesn't answer his phone for a few days. And so Natalie is worried about him, and she travels up the mountain in the middle of a storm to make sure that Ronan is okay, and she ends up getting stuck there. So this is a forced together romance, which is another one that I or trope that I really, really enjoy. And I loved it. I liked both the characters. I liked them better together. That's how I really know when I like a romance, is I like them better together than apart. I gave this book 3 flames, 3 stars. It was so good. So the last book I read for December was another Happily Ink book. I enjoyed number 3 so much. I was like, you know what? I haven't read number 2. Duh. So I got number 2. Again, this is by Susan Mallory. Here's the cover. The main character is Matthias Mitchell. Again, like I said, this is about their family, so it's Ronan's brother. And Carol Lund. Matthias is an artist. Carol is a gamekeeper. They are neighbors. Loved it. And in this book, there is a second love story, which I had no idea because I didn't really read the back. It's part of a series I enjoy. So I don't know. Do you always read the backs of books, even if they're part of a series you read? I don't. I'm just like, oh, okay. It's part of the Happily Ink. It was so fun that there was a surprise second love story. Loved it. So guys, that is it. You made it. Thanks for staying this entire time. That is what I read in December 2020. Okay. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, may all your future reads be 5 stars. Bye, everyone.